just so enchanted with the writing bookcase right now. I'm calling this shelf maxing, this style, where it's like you max out how much you can fit into a space. Tetrising. Because, like, that's the thing with having a book collection in a 2-bedroom apartment. You don't have infinite space to put stuff. So what if you had as much as you could in the space? That's what's so funny to me is this is exactly how I write. The way I edit my own writing, just going back and adding and densing. That's why I call myself a maximalist minimalist. But I'm going to be writing a novel during NaNoWriMo, and I'm preparing all year to get ready for this November to knock out a 50,000 word novel. This time it'll be one I can use, and it's one I've written before during a previous NaNoWriMo, like 15 years ago. Earth is an egg, about the Earth being a giant egg, and it starts hatching. I generated some really cool ideas in the previous NaNoWriMo. I did it, I wrote 50,000 words in a month. That's about 1,600 a day. I met my good friend Lisa Barrow through it. Neither of us can remember what year that was. It was like 2007, maybe. 2005? But so now I'm thinking about novels, and I thought I should do a video on, it turns out I have 10 books here that have the word novel in the title, in the writing section. Let's pull them out and see what they have to say about the process of writing a novel, and if I can benefit from them. Got a few from here, and 4 from here. Here's some books that are going away to a free box. Sorry I never read you, Lee Smith. I know you're a friend of Annie Dillard's. I'm sure this book's all right. I just gotta be real picky in the paperback project right now. And Herman Hesse, it was ultimately that tear on the cover. And realizing that Siddhartha is the most important one to have from you, I think, in this project. But now there's Paradise Lost and Regained. There's Euripides. Look how cool this is. Let me show you. Because I have this Euripides book now. Like, check out how cool this is. I have this book in the paperback project called 7 Famous Greek Plays. It has plays by 4 playwrights. And then I have books by all 4 of the playwrights: Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes. So I'm going to read these all at the same time. Aeschylus, Sophocles. I thought about getting rid of the upper one, but I can't do it. Euripides, new acquisition. Aristophanes. That's going to be so cool. I'm going to be like an expert on Greek plays a little bit after I read all these in a few month period. It's getting to be such an amazing, diverse literary fiction paperback case. It's just like refine. It's beautiful. Will I ever read it all? Seems like I'll die before I complete this, but I'll try. That YouTube booktuber, Anna Wallace Johnson, she said once that she can read so many books a year because it's her job now to just read, because she has sponsors and advertising. That's a goal. I would love that. Split my time YouTubing and about books and writing. It sounds like a good division of resources. Oh yeah, and 1/3 of the time hanging out in nature. I mean, this is going to end up being like 200, just like a really interesting variety. The whole of literature will be embodied here in a way, at least in the English language, available to someone in my place and time. This really is the core of the channel, is reading this whole case. Hey, I'm like almost 5% in. No one correct my math, please. Anyway. Here we have some books about the novel. My daughter Anodyne's coming around today after a month-long German language camp in the Gila Mountains. She said it was very smoky quite often. My kids have real main character vibes. I'm like, but if they're the main characters, who am I? Nothing. I'm a withered, dried-up old husk cast by the road. Gee, Mike, your thoughts on parenting are so uplifting. JK. The novel, A Modern Guide to 15 English Masterpieces. Now, what I think is cool about this assortment of books is that some are directed toward readers and some are directed toward writers. I think a writer with a receptive, open mode mind, to take Elisa Gavert's term, open mode, can treat a book like this just like basically an exploration of good writing. How does good writing work? What's going on? Most readers are secretly writers anyway. Some libraries are like vengeful in their discard markings. Not this one, but Gary at Monsanto right now, a little bit. Everything gets X'd out and front pages get ripped out. That's the worst part. Like, I brought her a copy of biography of Charles Darwin that was pretty nice, and I was like, I think I may have access that some student just returned a book to the discard cart because I don't see this one marked discard at all. And she's all, oh, some of them didn't get marked, and she grabs the book from me and just rips the front page out, damaging the binding in the process. I'm like, ugh. It was like watching a piece of my own soul get torn, you know? This one I just got, and it's just so beautiful. I think this is also from a reading perspective. The Art of Reading, the novel. Yeah, books like this are cool. It's like, hey, here's how to get more out of the experience. Pay attention. I don't know why, but like craft books sometimes are just like nourishing to me as a writer. When I read them, that's how I feel, nourished. And also, it's fun to read something that gives you good recommends and insights into stuff you read or think you'll read. This one I've read, I think, a couple times. And a fraction of times. The American Novel Illustration. I've had this in the collection for a long time, and sometimes it just calls to me. Great old cover. Couples Day Anchor Original. First read that Doomsday. What's that say about me? 1957. Whoa. As old as the Northeast Heights of Albuquerque. While Sam Hoffman was just establishing this part of town and selling homes, yet to become someone that would murder his wife and take his own life. This book was being printed and put into its first circulation. It's crazy that there's just like this archipelago out there, a diaspora of people thinking about fictional things and abstract things, you know, structures in the air. I think it means we're all cool. Maybe it's like Tom Robbins talks about in Jitterbug Perfume, which I read as part of the Wonderful Paperback Project and probably wouldn't have read anytime soon. In that, he talks about the reptile self, the mammal self, and the higher floral self, and the brain equivalents of all that. And it's a really neat literary thing. Apparently it's based in outdated science, but I do like the idea of higher intellectual selves going beyond basic mammalia. Now, this is so specific and esoteric, and I love it. I just love Robbie Gray. I know I've read this, and nothing from it ever sticks in my mind because it's just this guy's really specific mode. Oh, what's more beautiful than a trade-size paperback? And this is a good cover. Simple, just text. In the Gray style, really. Wonder who designed it. No design credits. Pure utility gets no credit, even if it turns out looking good. You could say it uses map rules to get colors in different contrasts with each other. But it only uses 3, not 4. Maybe the 4th is white. Yeah. Jealousy is such a good book. Robbie Gray, you crazy genius. He was like, I mean, the French New Wave in literature was as exciting and awesome as the French New Wave in film. Don't sleep on it. Dura, awesome. Robbie Gray, awesome. Some third name, also cool. Here's what I thought about, actually. For example, in the matter of separating the form of a novel from its contents, that is, of contrasting the style, choice of words in their arrangement, use of grammatical tenses. Oh yeah, I dog-eared the bottom of the page. That was a habit of mine for a while, reading. Anyway, it's cool stuff. Robbie Gray. I would say I'm a completist of his stuff. If I saw any of his available anywhere, I would grab it. Again, these are all books that have novel in the title and that I might read while preparing to write a novel in the month of November this year. One that can finally cash in on my brother's connections, because he is a YA fantasy novelist. Obert's guy. This guy. Yeah, he's got a lot of books. This is not all of them. I'll knock out Earth is an Egg and Get that to him. Get to his agent. It'll be so cool. It's going to be set in the year 2100, and I see it as the first of a trilogy. Earth is Neg, Earth is a shell, and Earth is alive. And it's going to be really cool. It's like a third set in space looking down at the Earth, a third set on the surface of the Earth, and a third set on an expedition into the interior of the Earth to see what's going on. Features 3 different groups of 2 teenagers. Kind of crowdsourcing some of the elements of this to my kids. They're like, have it be all teenagers. I'm like, all right, you know how the YA thing works. They're going to be visually distinct too because, well, yeah, it's going to be kind of an imaginative book. It's going to have more in it than just the Earth being a giant egg. It's going to have really cool things in it, like a subterranean civilization. And in the first book that I'm going to write this November, it's going to hatch. So I think I got to read this one, Outlining Your Novel. Not like, look, it's just like interviews with writers that know stuff. You know, take all advice. That's literally like a piece of my advice. Like, why not? It's just writing. It's a big playground. It's a sandbox. It's your, you know, if you react negatively to someone's advice, then that's your advice. Do that thing instead. Your other idea, the instinct that you felt when you read that advice. Like, why not hear somebody try to be systemic and structure good advice and stuff? I'm going to read this one for sure. This one's getting moved to the currently reading section. Mike's such a hack. He reads books and stuff like Outlining Your Novel sometimes. He loves the book How to Write a Movie in 21 Days. All writers can learn from hacks, and no hacks are all bad. I'm no hack. I wouldn't be so freaking poor if I was a hack. Novel narrator, beautiful old book. Where does such a thing come into one's life? I'll tell you exactly, it came from a UNM free pile because there used to be a red dot right here, and they did that to all their discard books. Sometimes damaging old books. A primer for critics is so cool. Wellesley College. I slept on their golf course once. No year, timeless. Amazing. There's no year on it. I would say 60s or 70s though. Beautiful. What is that, a mosaic on the cover? Man, I think I've read this. Don't remember. What is a critic of novel? You know, sometimes individual works get lost within a period of reading a lot of works on a subject. And that's kind of where this one is. I was just reading craft books left and right for a couple of years there. A few years there. I used to literally keep the elements of style in my back pocket, and I would just reread it all the time. I'm like, I want to know the basics of my craft. Love this idea. I kind of want to write a book like this for the paperback project after I read all of that. Here are the 200 books. Though it occurs to me, oh look, and this is old school Barnes & Noble. Whoa. Back when it was a wagon and an old man with a staff. He'd hit you if you looked at the books too long with the staff. Because I spell Sappho. Sappho's not a novelist. She does paint a picture across all her poems. You could adapt Mary Barnard's translation of Sappho into a movie. Sure, why not? Starring Cleis, her daughter. There's definitely a wedding at one point. Lots of dancing around an altar. This is a beautiful book. It reminds me of my grandparents' bathtubs and bathroom fixtures in the 80s when I would visit them. Because all that was from like the 30s. So what year is this? 1955. Yeah, my grandparents were kind of in the 50s still. Like they loved I Love Lucy. I was trying to rewatch that recently because I ended up with the DVD of the first season. Challenging. A little bit challenging. But this is a cool idea. I've always thought you could take the basic description of a great novel and get 10 people to rewrite it, and it would be totally different, and that would be a cool idea for a series. I bet something like that exists. Imagine just Crime and Punishment described in a single page, and you give that to 10 totally different writers. It would be 10 completely different works, even including all those elements. I think it shows that a good writer is good idea plus good execution, right? Nietzsche said a writer is only as good as his ideas. Or her, or their ideas. Look at this beautiful thing. A little piece of the 50s. You know, like some security guard read this once. Just watching for the punks and the hoodlums walking by. But the mods and the rockers are having it out. Yeah, why do you read a book like this? The plots of 100 famous novels. I don't know, but I'm totally intrigued. I once told the guy who ran the Guild Cinema that he should take all his descriptions of movies over the years and put them together in a good collection, because I'm like, that becomes a body of work. Anything. His descriptions from the monthly, program calendar. Eve. I'm Becoming a Novelist by John Gardner. Now this sounds good to me because he is a novelist, I think there's a lot to get out of this. Have I read it? I don't think so. Maybe. I haven't read much John Gardner either. How to read a novel. I might have read this one. I think I did. Yeah, it's got the bottom corner marks thing I used to do. This is good stuff. There's a secret flip side to all books about reading books, and that is that they're also about writing books and how books work and knowing the parts of them and so on. Study the craft. You know that the greats weren't afraid of that stuff. I doubt that those resources were much available to them, but maybe they were a little. People probably used to have much more in-depth conversations and so on. Pretty cool. How to read a novel. Yeah, all these books are on the table to reread between now and November. This one I've read so many times and will continue to read periodically. And one of these days I'm going to read the books he talks about in here. I have read Don Quixote because of this. He writes about the good soldier Schweik. Haven't read that. A lot of like Eastern European writers, I think. But it's like all men, I think I remember. I think I remember the book not mentioning a woman. Yeah. But, books about the novel. Do you have any favorite books about the novel? Let me know. Oh yeah, back to the children's books soon, or books for younger readers soon. Keep getting distracted by the beautiful writing shelf. Pretty. Well, now it has a gap because I took this out. Yeah, I'm going to really use this book to motivate me. Oh yeah. Canterbury Tales is so good. This part is so laugh out loud. It's hilarious. So the characters are telling stories back and forth, but they're using them to needle each other and be like, here's a story about a guy just like that guy. This guy is a summoner, like a bounty hunter maybe? Hates friars. And so he's aggressively teasing the friar. Lord bless us, you must often enough have heard the story about the friar who had a vision in which his soul was snatched off to hell. And when an angel took him round to show him all the torments, he didn't see a single friar in the whole place, though he saw plenty of other folk in trouble. So the friar said to the angel, tell me, sir, have friars so much grace that none of them ever come here? Far from it, said the angel, there are millions of them. And he took him down to see Satan. As you see, Satan has a tail bigger than the mainsail of a carack, said he. You there, Satan, hold up your tail and show us your arse. Let the friars see where friars nest in hell. The next moment, like a swarm of bees from a hive, a troop of 20,000 friars came scurrying out of the devil's arse and swarmed all over hell before returning as fast as they could, every single one of them creeping back into the devil's arsehole, when he clapped his tail upon them and lay still. When the friar had seen enough of the torments of this dreadful place, God in his mercy restored his soul to his body, and he awoke. Yet even then he quaked with terror, for he couldn't get out of his mind that natural home of all his tribe, the devil's bum. God save you all except this damned friar. And so I'll end my prologue. Like, who says the classics are boring? That's hilarious and imaginative and gross. I laughed out loud when I read that. At this Monsanto admin job that I had until very recently, I need to replace that income ASAP. There was this security guard that I would have good comedy talks with. However, he was always going on about the value of clean comedy. And I'm like, yeah, but what about startling comedy? What about we're adults and we should be able to talk about everything if we want to, But this just shows you that generation's body entertainment can become the next classic literature. But it's still body and entertaining. It's actually like very formally experimental too, in that, there's many different kinds of stories. There's historical accounts and, it's as diverse in form as Ulysses, really, because they're from these different characters and There are different kinds of stories. Anyway, it's another video, the Paperback Project. When I finish this, I'll make a video. Right, this has been 10 books about the novel. You know, just because a book isn't a new release doesn't mean it doesn't have its place in the world. If any of these looked really appealing, you could probably track one down. Or maybe it'll just make you think about your own collection of things on the subject if it's one that interests you. Really, there's no reason for this channel to exist. It's a weird experiment. It grows as it goes. Same motto as the state of New Mexico. By grow, I mean horrifically mutates. All right, peace out, everybody. What? All right, take care. Queen of the kittens. Look at this little kitten face. All right. All right, don't forget. All right, take care, everybody.